Now on CBC Vancouver News.
It's going to be difficult to enter to enter the cabin.
Mounties say they have located the fishing boat that sank off Richmond, but 6 people are still missing and 1 of 4 people rescued has now died. Plus,
it's a really hard time because we got some extortion calls.
Extortion victims in BC breathe a little easier after dozens of people are charged in a massive cross-border crackdown. And
the smoke is just so dense, it's you can just about stir it with a spoon.
Wildfires in BC's Fraser Canyon are growing and blanketing more of the province in smoke.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Hello, I'm Dan Burritt. Thanks for joining us. The death toll in the boat sinking near Richmond has now climbed. Police say 1 of the 4 people rescued from the ocean has now died. Mounties say they have found the vessel as well, but as Michelle Gassoub explains, one expert says conditions will make any recovery very challenging.
The deadly boat sinking in the Georgia Strait 10 days ago has claimed another life. Richmond RCMP confirmed 1 of the 4 people rescued when the charter vessel sank has died in hospital. They say she was a 28-year-old Chinese citizen living in Seattle. Police are also sharing the ages of the 6 people presumed drowned, all in their 20s and 30s. And while RCMP have now located the vessel, they have yet to recover any remains.
So too deep for divers. They looked around the seabed around the boat. They didn't see any bodies at this time.
The boat is resting on the ocean floor 153 meters below the surface. Waters so deep, RCMP have deployed a remote underwater vehicle to investigate the wreckage.
At 1,000 feet of water, the water pressure pushing on that joint, we call that end load.
Jeff Heaton is president of Newtco Research, which specializes in deep diving submersibles. He consulted RCMP on the case and says powerful currents will make the next step, entering the vessel, challenging.
It's going to be difficult to enter to enter the cabin. You can certainly break windows. Doors will likely be closed. Given the poor visibility and the current, that would be a very, very difficult task.
But he says the vessel is upright, so bringing it to the surface may still be possible.
Getting this vessel back would be important because, yeah, we're going to learn something and maybe save a life down the road.
A critical step in determining what made a day on the water turn deadly. Michelle Gassoub, CBC News, Vancouver.
An international crackdown on organized crime based in India has some business owners here in Metro Vancouver breathing sighs of relief. Dozens of people have now been charged for crimes in this province and abroad, including murder, drug trafficking, shootings, and extortions. As John Hernandez explains, some victims in Surrey are hopeful the sweeping arrests will help restore public safety.
It was really hard time for us.
Sanjay Bajaj just wants business to go back to normal. 3 of his restaurants have been shot at over the past year. Each time, demands for cash followed.
We need the $1 million. If you are giving to us in 2 days, is good. Otherwise, you are responsible to your family and everything.
Bajaj is among many people in Surrey celebrating sweeping arrests targeting organized crime based in India. RCMP, the FBI, and other police agencies have announced charges against 36 suspects, including Bishnoi gang leader Lawrence Bishnoi and his North American leader Satinderjeet Singh, a.k.a. Goldie Brar, who is still at large. The crimes include murder, shootings, and extortions committed in BC and abroad.
Yes, this is the good achievement for the system because they are failure for last 8 months.
24 people have been arrested, 3 in BC with alleged ties to drug trafficking. Indictments claim Kingpin Ravinder Danda smuggled truckloads of cocaine and methamphetamines into Canada while based in White Rock. None of the allegations have been proven in court yet.
The shocking news was there are people who looks like same you and me. And they were involved in this type of things, and they're local businessmen, and they're transporting drugs for the syndicate.
Community advocate and radio host Gurpreet Sahota says there's a palpable feeling of relief in Surrey. Still, he wants more people to speak out.
There are people in the community who knows things, who knows these people who are hiding, and they should come up front. And this is about our public safety as a whole community, and our image is at the stake.
But for victims like Sanjay Bajaj, he fears the people who threatened his family are still out there.
We don't know. We don't know the see the face, no?
Anxiety and cautious optimism for a community facing violence for years. John Hernandez, CBC News, Surrey.
Wildfires burning near Boston Bar since last week are growing, leading to more evacuations and a highway closure in the Fraser Canyon. The smoke is thick and has drifted into the interior. The CBC's Keir Junos caught up with people forced from their homes, now settling into temporary shelters in Chilliwack.
Two wildfires near Boston Bar have exploded in size, closing Highway 1 in the area and forcing more evacuations. The impact is stretching beyond the Fraser Canyon as the smoke travels into BC's interior.
The smoke is just so dense, it's you can just about stir it with a spoon. I think you can even see it in my eyes. My eyes are glassy.
An air quality warning is in effect for Kamloops and much of the interior. Medical experts reminding the public to reduce exposure by staying inside and using air purifiers. And if you do need to go outside,
try to take it easy and, reduce the length, like spend less time outside and also do activities that's less intense.
Meanwhile, some residents from local First Nations near Boston Bar have been forced to leave their homes under evacuation order. That includes the Kupchichen Reserve and the Boothroyd Indian Band. Some have traveled here to this evacuee center at Squay Village in Chilliwack.
I'm still pretty nervous. We still kind of touch and go with the community, because of all the ash and everything like that. We just had our houses done, wrapped like in fireproof siding and tin roofs and stuff. So I'm hoping that with the people that remain there fighting the fire, that our community will be safe.
The two wildfires of note have grown quickly around Boston Bar and have scorched around 114 square kilometers combined.
So those conditions came together and resulted in some fairly significant growth on the Brunswick Creek wildfire, but some more extreme growth and substantial growth on the Ainslie Creek wildfire.
The BC Wildfire Service blames strong sustained winds and dry conditions for the massive growth on Tuesday. Keir Junos, CBC News, Chilliwack.
As you heard and saw, those wildfires in the Fraser Canyon are sending smoke across parts of the southern interior. Leanne Young spoke with the CBC's Shelley Joyce in Kamloops earlier in the day.
So, Shelley, how are you doing? What's the latest there? What are we hearing?
Well, I feel like I have about 20 pounds of extra weight on my chest this morning. It's really hard to breathe with these air conditions. Not a lot of people out on the streets. People are staying indoors. It's intensely smoky. It kind of really kicked up last night. It was sort of apocalyptic. It was quite scary, the light in the sky, the ash coming down. Then when I woke up early this morning, just this really thick gray mask of smoke. And it's not just Kamloops that's impacted. This is, I kind of took a look around the province in our listening area, and Lytton and Lillooet very heavily hit with smoke, as is Cache Creek and parts of the Caribou as well. Environment Canada calls this a yellow weather day. That means that there is a risk, an extreme risk to health if you go out and you breathe the air. So not very many exercisers out here today.
Yes, I bet. And do we know anything about how large these fires have grown? We know that I believe some of them have really exploded overnight.
Environment Canada is working together with BC Wildfire Service, and they're kind of watching these fires very closely. And yes, they did get bigger overnight. These fires, there's two around Boston Bar, so they're having a heavy impact on what we're seeing weather-wise here. And I was going to mention that we've got a health risk on the scale of 10 for Kamloops today, or 10 plus, which means kind of out of sight. So really unhealthy for us. We don't know what's going to happen with those fires. Of course, there's lots of heavy winds in the Lytton area and in the Fraser Canyon. So that's the main component of what's happening there weather-wise. I talked to a lot of people on the streets today. They're actually wearing masks today, and we've got an air scrubber in the office, and it's doing an amazing job of cleaning the air. So people are advised to keep their indoor spaces as fresh and clear as they can, meaning close all the windows and doors, get an air scrubber or some sort of a purification system in, and just hunker down until we get better air quality.
Absolutely, and hopefully that rain comes and settles some of those wildfires, and we're going to get you back inside right away as soon as possible. Thank you for that. Our Shelley Joyce in Kamloops.
Darius Madavi here with the first look at the weather and more on the smoke and wildfire situation.
That's right. I want to talk both about the Brunswick Creek fire, which is one that we've been talking about for some time, and the Ainslie Creek fire, which was just newly named because it exploded in size overnight. This is smoke from that fire. They are now considered one complex. They're calling it the Brunswick Creek Complex, and it's these two out-of-control ones here. If we look at the fire perimeters, you'll notice that this one has grown incredibly compared to last night. This is the Ainslie Creek fire here. It was one of these fires, spot fires, that were ignited by Brunswick Creek as embers crossed over the highway and over the river, but has really grown in size, even just compared to an hour earlier today. We've seen this perimeter expand to now be off the screen, actually, and it is now well over 9,000 hectares in size, and has now also grown to be crossing Highway 1, which is which is definitely of concern. That's why we have all these evacuation orders and alerts still in place, and I wouldn't maybe be surprised to see more issued if that fire continues to grow, or the direction it grows shifts really towards more populated areas. But fire danger remains high in the south because of these sustained high temperatures. They are coming down a couple degrees, but that's probably not going to be enough to offset these strong winds that we've seen blowing through the Fraser Canyon, gusting up to 30 to 50 kilometers per hour at times. So Dan, we're going to be keeping a close eye on this situation and see how it develops.
Okay, Darius, thanks very much.
Thank you.
We may be fighting wildfires, as you can see, but some farmers in Abbotsford, Sumas Prairie are racing to build dikes before the rainy season. They fear it may be worse because of the El Nino weather pattern. As Keir Junos explains, building dikes requires permits, but one family has started building anyway without them, fed up with bureaucracy.
When Abbotsford was hit with devastating floods in 2021, where I'm standing here at Dykeman Cattle Company in the Sumas Prairie was completely underwater. The cows were nearly treading water as the farmers evacuated. After another big flood in 2025, the Dykemans decided they needed to build a dike, not waiting for another disaster.
It's about 4.5 feet from where we're standing right now.
Ted Dykeman says they weren't waiting around for the permits required either, because the process to get a city soil permit was taking too long.
They had told us that it was going to be weeks, not months, to get a permit. So we applied for a permit. 6 weeks go by, so now we're into months, not weeks, and the product came available, and the weather was good, so we just started building the dike.
They submitted all of the applications required for a soil permit and notice of intent from the Agricultural Land Commission, but they jumped the gun, and now they've been fined $7,000 by the city.
I'm mad. It's not right.
Frustrated.
Right? Like, all we're looking for is some common sense. That's really all we're looking for.
The city says the ALC is in charge of what happens on agricultural land. No approval from them, no city soil permit. The ALC denied the Dykemans' plan in April, saying the project scale was too big and should be reviewed by the Diking Authority, which it says is the city of Abbotsford. The back and forth continues. It's July, and the ALC says because of progress on a multi-governmental flood mitigation plan, it can now review a project like this if the city gives a referral. The Dykemans are fed up with it all.
But ultimately, get rid of the fines and just leave us alone. We'll look after our own stuff, but just leave us alone.
Quit harassing us.
The mayor wasn't available for an interview. A city spokesperson said in a statement it knows of 2 properties building unpermitted berms in the area. It confirmed one has been fined $7,000 and another property $11,500. The spokesperson said in part, berms constructed without appropriate engineering assessments can lead to unintended safety issues, including putting other properties at risk. The city says it can ask property owners to take down berms if they don't meet standards, and the city can also take legal action. At a nearby pig farm, this gigantic berm is in construction, easily over 12 feet high and spanning an enormous perimeter. The farmer here wouldn't do an interview with us, but said he's facing fines too. The city says it's willing to reduce fines if property owners completely follow a compliance agreement. In the meantime, the Dykemans are not expecting any help.
There's nothing going to happen. You also just forget about that. You just got to do it yourself.
Keir Junos, CBC News, Abbotsford.
Coming up, mechanical issues at BC Ferry's Langdale terminal left more than a few commuters wondering, what's next? That story is next. Stick around. A mechanical issue has now been fixed and regular ferry service resumed between Metro Vancouver and the Sunshine Coast. But as Alana Kelly explains, business owners are concerned about the long-term impacts of the disruption.
A half-full ferry fueling frustrations.
Here people are fighting for reservations, and yet there's availability on the lower decks of the boat. So
a mechanical issue with the ramp at Langdale Terminal on the Sunshine Coast meant vehicles could only get on and off the lower deck. As a result, some reservations were canceled.
And where possible, we did move customers to another sailing rather than canceling their booking.
Only people with reservations were allowed to board, but getting a booking was even a challenge.
I kept hitting the pay and it would freeze, and then you'd get kicked out and have to start over again.
BC Ferries also canceled an evening commuter ferry on Tuesday.
And so canceling that sailing gave our crews the time they needed to meet their required rest periods.
As of Wednesday afternoon, the ramp has been fixed and full service has resumed.
I know this has been a frustrating week for the Sunshine Coast residents, businesses, and everyone who relies on ferry service, and we don't take that lightly.
Some business owners have concerns about a dip in tourism.
If we don't really capitalize on the summer and take advantage of people being able to come over and enjoy the coast in these beautiful months, it really makes for a struggle getting through the wintertime as a small business owner.
Summer is the busiest time for these businesses.
A lot of our businesses here do probably 75% of their business during the summer months. So seeing these disruptions, seeing these cancellations from people who planned on traveling to the coast is having a massive effect on the viability of a lot of businesses here.
One owner fears this could have lasting consequences.
A couple was going to come over and tour the site, and they are like, well, we can't get there. And if we can't get there, how are we going to host a wedding?
Gibson's mayor says people need reliable transportation.
It's not acceptable to our ferry-dependent communities.
A community that relies on the ferries for appointments, deliveries, and tourism.
It's pretty nerve-wracking. We don't get these customers back. You know, it's not like you are rebooking your trip for next month.
She knows of families that have canceled their trips to the Sunshine Coast and says this will have an impact on her business. Alana Kelly, CBC News, Squamish.
Vancouver has now wrapped up its hosting duties in the FIFA Men's World Cup, and the cleanup is starting. The city says over the next few weeks, crews will take down temporary event-related structures around BC Place and what they call the last mile match day spectator route, where everyone walked or rolled to get to the stadium. But it says most banners and directional signs will stay up until the end of the month. In early June, the BC government said it would cost taxpayers up to $730 million to host 7 games, with revenues up to $615 million. For his part, Vancouver's mayor thinks it's been worth it.
We got the payback a long time ago. We were only exposed to $5 million. That's it. If you gave us $100 million to do a branding exercise across the planet, it would not have a fraction of the impact that these games had. So that's already paid for itself.
CIMAD's costs are also being covered by a tax on Vancouver hotels. RCMP and Nanaimo are ramping up enforcement to deal with what it calls an ongoing problem of dangerous street racing. The force says over recent weeks, frontline officers have had to respond to many public complaints about late-night racing, excessive vehicle noise, stunting, and using the roads as drag strips. Officers have now bumped up patrols in known problem areas. They say they hope to prevent injuries and hold those dangerous drivers accountable. RCMP say in most cases, people know who's involved, so speaking up can help save young lives. Street racers can face penalties that include criminal charges. Police in Surrey say one person has been arrested and an estimated $6.6 million worth of suspected counterfeit goods seized after a years-long investigation. Police say the goods were for sale in Surrey, including several thousand sports jerseys and hundreds of pieces of luxury clothes, bags, and footwear. The suspect was released from jail shortly after they were arrested. Well, the sun was shining across downtown Vancouver and at the top of Grouse Mountain. We've got a bit more cloud in the sky now, though. Darius will have a look at your BC-wide weather forecast and the latest on wildfires in our province coming up. Many people living here in Metro Vancouver and beyond are used to wildlife in our cities. But is that same wildlife used to us? It's a question the pandemic partially answered as we saw coyotes move more freely into quieter urban parks. A study out of UBC seeks to answer more questions about how they deal with humans, especially in Vancouver's Stanley Park. You might remember between December 2020 and August of 2021, 45 people reported being bitten or nipped by a coyote there, including children. Provincial officials eventually killed 11 of those animals. UBC zoology doctoral candidate Nathan Lewis has studied this. He joins us now. Nathan, what did those 9 months during the pandemic and then the resulting cull tell us about coyote and human behavior?
It told us quite a bit. Through our study of these attacks and the encounters that occurred over those 9 months, we learned several interesting things. First and foremost was that as human activity increased in the park, the aggression that coyotes were showing toward people also increased and then stayed high right up until the removal of some of those coyotes toward the end of summer of 2021. And so what that told us was that over time, the coyotes got really, really comfortable around people. They lost that fear completely because they were seeing so many people all the time. And so that made them really comfortable being out and about in the park a lot more and getting really close to people. We also found evidence that some people were feeding coyotes in the park, and that is well known to cause coyotes to start to actually associate humans with food. And so in that case, then they start to approach people in the park, and this can lead to aggressive encounters as well. Interestingly, on sort of more of a personal level, we found that people who were running in the park were a lot more likely to be attacked than those who were walking or who were riding bikes. And we also found that people who were active in the park on their own and at times of relatively low park visitation, so like at night or on really rainy days, were more likely to be attacked than people who were there during busier hours.
Why do you think research like this is important?
So this is really important so that we can try to learn as much as we can about how best to coexist with coyotes. So coyotes are a really important part of our ecosystem in urban areas. They function as sort of our apex predator here. And so they are really important for keeping prey populations down. Some things that may be considered pests, like rats, are really good prey for coyotes. But there is always a potential for conflict when people and coyotes are coexisting. And so the more research like this we can do, the more we can learn about how we can prevent future conflicts, keep people and coyotes safe, and make sure that the outcome is as good as we can have it for everyone.
Nathan Lewis, co-author of this study and a UBC doctoral candidate in zoology. Thank you for your time and expertise. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
U.S. President Donald Trump has been ruffling the feathers of NATO leaders in Turkey. He's aired grievances about family members, or fellow members, I should say, and been especially harsh in his comments about Spain. As Evan Dyer reports, there are signs his allies might be fed up with him.
War returned to the Persian Gulf just as NATO leaders gathered in Turkey, hoping to discuss ways to protect Europe from Russia. Donald Trump showed more interest in relitigating topics that NATO leaders had hoped had gone away.
It was Greenland and it continues to be. That should be controlled by the United States, not by Denmark.
Canada's Mark Carney, who traveled from Turkey to Saudi Arabia just as the war flared back up, appeared to lay the blame on Iran.
That's irresponsible. It's not right.
He also said he'd spoken with the U.S. president at length on the weekend, as well as briefly at the summit.
He was in a good mood at dinner last night.
But that good mood wasn't evident at NATO.
I'm very upset with NATO, that we pay far, far too much.
Last month at the G7 summit in France, Trump angered one of his closest European allies, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, by claiming she'd begged him for a photo.
Le dichiarazioni di Donald Trump sono dichiarazioni totalmente...
Meloni responded with an angry video saying Trump had lied. And I don't know why the President of the United States behaves this way towards his own allies. This isn't the first time. The Italian foreign minister cancelled an upcoming trip to the US. Then, 2 days before the NATO summit, Trump reopened the dispute with an insulting AI-generated meme. And on arrival in Turkey, as well as threatening Greenland, he also picked a new fight with Spain.
I don't want anything to do with Spain. Cut off all trade with Spain.
Hours later, the U.S. Treasury Department said it was looking for Spanish products to tariff. There are signs that Europeans are growing tired of Trump's behavior, and rather than trying to mollify him, may have decided they just want to see less of him. NATO's final communique usually looks forward to next year's summit, which was scheduled to take place in Albania. But this year's communique made no mention of it, and the Italian admiral who chairs NATO's military committee now says it might not happen. Every NATO country has now met its NATO spending goals, but Trump continues to accuse many of being deadbeats. Trump's used NATO summits to denigrate the organization and call into question its core principle that all members must come to one another's defense if they're attacked. But it seems patience may finally be running out. Evan Dyer, CBC News, Jeddah.
The U.S. and Iran are trading insults, threats, and attacks again, and the most serious threat yet to their 3-week-old ceasefire deal. Iran saying it will respond fearlessly after Donald Trump unleashed a tirade of insults about the leadership in Tehran and suggested he's now done with the peace process. But later, he seemed to walk that back. Kate Fisher reports.
More confused messaging from the US president after the US and Iran exchanged dozens of strikes overnight on Tuesday and raised the prospect of major renewed hostilities. President Donald Trump declared the ceasefire was over and that the US will very probably hit Iran again on Wednesday night while threatening to bring back a naval blockade. Speaking at the NATO summit in Turkey, he said he was no longer willing to negotiate with the Iranians.
I don't want to deal with them anymore. They're scum. You know what scum is? They're scum. They're sick people. They're led by sick people. And they're vicious, violent people. And if they had a nuclear weapon, they'd use it. As far as I'm concerned, it's over.
That language is a marked change from how he described Iran's leadership just last month, calling them then very rational people who were nice to deal with. He added that the US negotiators can continue to speak to the Iranians now, but he thought they were wasting their time. Oil prices soared on Wednesday and stocks slumped after President Trump declared the ceasefire over. And given his newly forceful rhetoric, he was pressed by reporters at a later press conference about whether the war would resume. Then he dialed back his language a little, saying that he didn't think it would and that anything that did happen is going to be over very quickly, saying he was not looking for a long-term conflict, but that the US would keep striking Iran if it fired on ships. These tit-for-tat attacks have repeatedly threatened the shaky ceasefire, but Mr. Trump's latest comments have injected new uncertainty. A renewed conflict could engulf the wider Middle East and would likely halt energy shipments through the Strait of Hormuz, which are so crucial to the global economy. Kate Fisher for CBC News, Washington.
Children are among those most affected by the catastrophe that's unfolded in Venezuela 2 weeks after a pair of powerful earthquakes struck that country. The CBC's Jorge Barrera is in Venezuela and spoke with several about their pain and struggles.
Along the shores of the Caribbean, surrounded by the ruins of their homes, children play among donated tents for displaced families in Catialamar, La Guaira.
Y no me gustó vivir mucho esta experiencia, porque casi pierdo a mi mamá, porque estaba mucho temblando.
I didn't like living through this experience, says 11-year-old Nazareth. I almost lost my mom because things were shaking so much, she says. At the request of NGO Save the Children, CBC News agreed not to use the real names of any children interviewed in this story. I want to sleep in my bed, she says. I don't want to sleep on the floor, on a mattress. I don't want to live this experience anymore. Save the Children provides daily programming here to some of the over 600,000 children impacted by the twin quakes that rocked Venezuela June 24th.
We speak to children who they've lost family members, they've lost friends,
like 11-year-old Emma, whose grandfather died in the disaster. I'm not going back to my school because it collapsed, says Emma. We are moving. I have to say goodbye to all my friends. She says her mom doesn't want to live here anymore. I carry a sadness in my heart, says 9-year-old Leo, thinking that it could happen again. It's scary. You think you are going to die and not be able to see your mother anymore. Not far from here, two mothers search for their missing sons that were playing together.
Hubieron varias personas que me indicaron que vieron al niño corriendo hacia
Besabeth Carmona Marquez says several people saw her 10-year-old son, Paul Jr., running after the quake. He was playing with 10-year-old boy, Emmanuel Abraham. They both vanished together. Their mothers continue to search, sleeping here on the sidewalk, across from their destroyed homes.
Tenemos fe que nuestros hijos están bien.
We have faith that our children are okay, she says. Faith is all they have left.
Can scientists use our own blood to detect cancers soon? Stick around as we find out. Next. Canadian scientists are at the forefront of important new medical research into what you might call a potential early warning system for cancer. It's a new kind of blood-based biopsy that's easier, faster, and more sensitive than traditional tissue tests. More now from our health reporter, Lauren Pelly.
Paul Lonergan battled tongue cancer through months of chemo and radiation. His oncologist later told him the tumor was gone.
But you still have fragments of cancer in your blood.
He'd been part of a clinical trial studying liquid biopsies. This emerging technology looks for tiny fragments of tumor DNA in someone's bloodstream before it ever shows up on a traditional exam or scan. Now a team of Canadian scientists wants to test it out on thousands of cancer survivors.
What we're trying to do is to see whether these sensitive tests can detect circulating tumor DNA. That would suggest that the cancer may have a possibility of returning.
This Toronto oncologist is trying to recruit 7,000 participants for the 5-year research project.
The hope obviously is when you detect it so early, we can do something about it earlier.
Liquid biopsies aren't yet available for the vast majority of cancer patients outside clinical trials. Scientists say there's huge potential, backed by a growing body of research, but also reasons to be cautious.
Would you want your doctor to tell you that you might have cancer cells floating around in your body? Would you want to know that?
This expert says the tests can take an emotional toll on patients who've already gone through grueling medical treatments.
The test is not perfect. You can get false positives, meaning a patient can be told there's some cancer DNA floating in your bloodstream, but they actually don't have cancer.
And there's the possibility of false negatives, where the test misses cases where cancer has come back. Multiple experts told us ongoing study is crucial to find out just how well these tests work for cancer survivors. After liquid biopsies found traces of Lonergan's cancer, he had experimental immunotherapy.
Each day is precious. That's really what I've really just come to appreciate.
Now he's considered cancer-free. Lauren Pelly, CBC News, Toronto.
Our science and climate specialist Darius Madavi here with the BC-wide weather forecast, but we start with those wildfires in the Fraser Canyon.
That's right, because even just compared to an hour ago, we've seen these fires grow significantly with, the updated perimeters have grown significantly. Of course, these fires have been growing throughout the day because of those strong winds, those ongoing drought conditions. But the Ainslie Creek fire in particular, now much larger than it looked even just last night, just this morning, with the BC Wildfire Service now updating the estimated perimeter to be 16,987 hectares. So a very, very large fire. That is almost double the size it was listed at this morning. So a lot of growth happening, but largely out into uninhabited areas. And the number of evacuation orders and alerts has remained relatively constant at the same time. Fire danger does remain high and will likely continue to be over the next few days, even though temperatures have dropped a couple degrees, largely because of the winds that we're seeing in these areas and just, again, the ongoing drought conditions. This part of the southern interior, probably the worst drought conditions that we're seeing across the province right now. But the winds that we're going to see tomorrow, not quite as strong as today, more than likely. It looks like we're going to have a little bit of a reprieve. There may be a couple times tomorrow close to Highway 1 when we see those winds gusting a little bit more strongly, maybe up to 40 kilometers per hour, but hopefully we won't see them go above that. The observed temperatures in this area as well are today have not hit 30 degrees, did not hit 30 degrees, and over the next couple days they will likely remain below 30 as well in the Fraser Canyon. So again, a bit of good news there, but the ongoing drought conditions make things continuously difficult. The air quality issues continue to persist. We're seeing nasty air quality spreading throughout parts of the interior and over the border into Alberta. You can see that here. There's even an orange air quality warning for the area around Kamloops and just south of there, and that smoke is likely to continue blowing in that direction through the day tomorrow as well. In terms of temperatures, like I said, they're coming down in the southern interior over the next couple days, so good news there, but only by a few degrees, hitting just below that 30-degree mark, and we will likely see them come back up again towards the end of the weekend and into early next week. The precipitation we're seeing is mostly confined to the more northern parts of the province, as well as Vancouver Island, although we may see some brief showers move across on Friday. It's unlikely that's going to make it into the southern interior. The few places we've been seeing lightning today, mostly unlikely to return tomorrow, but we may see a few showers move across. Maybe parts of the shore might getting a little bit. And then mixed skies, Dan, over the next few days with a slightly cloudier day on Friday.
Okay. Darius, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Coming up, a sneak peek at the ship that carried famed Antarctic explorer Ernest Shackleton. You'll want to stick around for this.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and this is your CBC Inbox.
Immerse yourself in a weekend of diverse culture and live entertainment at the Surrey Fusion Festival, July 18th to 19th. Experience over 50 pavilions, a vibrant marketplace, global flavors, and more. Details at surreyfusionfestival.ca. And ready for the ultimate summer weekend? Join CBC at the Salmon Arm Roots and Blues Festival from July 24th to 26th. Details at rootsandblues.ca.
A Canadian expedition has provided the very first images of Quest. It's the ship that carried the famous explorer Ernest Shackleton on his final voyage in 1922.
40 years later, Quest sank off the coast of Labrador. That's where the CBC's Peter Cohen is now. He's on board the research ship with more.
I'm on board the research ship Atlantis, and we're getting the very first images of the wreck of Quest down here in the Labrador Sea. An ROV went down late at night. That's a remotely operated vehicle, bringing back the very first images of this shipwreck that sunk while it was sealing. This is a ship that Ernest Shackleton explored Antarctica on. He, in fact, died on board. And this ship is significant for the Royal Canadian Geographical Society. They're spending millions of dollars to mount this expedition to get these images to show just what's left. What they didn't expect to see was so many fishing nets entangled in the wreck.
That's disappointing. It makes it really challenging for us to get type of imagery in the digital twin that we wanted to get. So we'll have to have a review of that, exactly what our objectives are going forward.
Now, it's not just remotely operated vehicles that are exploring this wreck. The submersible Alvin is taking people down, and in fact, the head of the Royal Canadian Geographical Society, John Geiger, was on that very first dive, getting to be one of the very first people to ever see that wreck in person, and he said it was a moving experience.
Unbelievable, kind of surreal to see the ship that, you know, Shackleton once strode upon, and you know, it's in rough shape. You can see the impact. A lot of growth on it, a lot of fish, a lot of cod down there. But yeah, it's really sort of a special experience.
We're spending a few more days off the coast of Labrador, a few more dives in Alvin, and with the remotely operated vehicle gathering more imagery. The plan is to create a 3D digital model to allow anyone to explore this wreck. Peter Cowan, CBC News, on board Atlantis off the coast of Labrador.
Peter wins for best assignment of the day so far. Amazing. Great discovery, too.
Is there an uncool shipwreck? I don't
know, but just to be able to go down and see that stuff, depending on the depth, amazing.
To be clear, they are unfortunate shipwrecks.
Indeed.
But, that's all.
Punjabi music, meanwhile, is making big waves in the global music scene. Performers like Diljit Dosanjh and Karan Aujla have sold out venues across the world and performed on late-night shows like Jimmy Fallon.
And believe it or not, Canada has played a role in helping the genre reach new heights. CBC Music explains how Canadian artists, including Surrey's Jazzy B, helped bring Punjabi music to the global stage.
You might have heard about Punjabi superstars like Karan Aujla, AP Dhillon, and the late Sidhu Moosewala. But today, we're going to talk about how this legendary artist from Surrey, BC, laid the foundation for the heights Punjabi music has reached today. Punjabi music is currently making big waves on the global music scene. But what if I told you that wouldn't be possible without Canada? Some of the most popular artists in the Punjabi music scene right now got their starts in cities like Brampton, Surrey, and Victoria. Artists growing up in these Canadian cities were influenced by a range of genres like hip-hop, R&B, pop, and electronic music, while still being deeply connected to Punjabi language and culture at home. The result was a sound that was truly global, resonating in Punjab, London, Toronto, and beyond. In the past few years, Punjabi Canadian artists have brought their music to new heights. Punjabi artists are charting on Billboard with songs you might have heard of like Admiring You by Karan Aujla and Still Rollin' by Shug. And none of this would be possible without the artist who made this iconic track. Known by his fans as the Crown Prince of Bhangra, Jazzy B truly was the original Punjabi Canadian superstar. In fact, there might not even be a Punjabi wave in Canada without him. Born in Punjab and raised in Surrey, BC, Jaswinder Singh Bance immigrated to Canada with his family as a child, and the dream of becoming a Punjabi singer had already taken root. In the 1980s, a large wave of Punjabi immigrants and asylum seekers found their way to Canada looking for better lives. And when people move, the music moves with them. Growing up in Surrey, between high school classes and an after-school job in construction, Jaswinder started performing in a band he made with a group of friends called Jazzy B and the Boys. In 1993, he released his debut album, Guggiyan Da Joda, featuring songs like Akh Lad Gayi and Akkhan Feriyan. On this project, Jazzy B began working with what would become his longtime collaborator, Sukhshinder Shinda. Together, they made genre-defining music that changed the direction of the Punjabi music industry forever. By the late 90s, Jazzy B hit his stride, seamlessly blending genres and building a visual style that created a bridge between Canada and the established industry in the UK. In addition to wearing traditional folk attire, Jazzy B was known for rocking bright, colorful streetwear inspired by 90s hip-hop artists, oversized jerseys, big jewelry, and his signature spiky hair. Then came what is arguably his most iconic project of all time, Jazzy B's 2004 album, Romeo. It was groundbreaking, playing with multiple Punjabi folk subgenres like Bhangra, Dafe, and Boliyan, layered with R&B, hip-hop, or reggae, all in one project. A song like Dil Luttiya perfectly encapsulates this blending of genres. Just take a listen. The album was so ahead of its time that it still sounds like it could have been released today. With Romeo, Jazzy B created a fan base of young Canadians who were born into Punjabi families but had never fully seen their own cultural experience reflected in music before. Jazzy B wasn't just making music, he was shaping culture. And suddenly, Canada was on the map in the global Punjabi music scene. In 2005, Jazzy B nearly shut down Canada's Wonderland with a high-powered performance that felt like a love letter to Punjabi art and music. With more than 75,000 people reportedly in attendance, the show didn't just fill up, it made history.
As far as I could see, I just saw people sitting, dancing on the shoulders. I think we broke Michael Jackson's record. That's how many people were there. And I did, I don't know, maybe 45 an hour extra. The people were enjoying it. Yeah, that's unforgettable show, man.
17 albums later and a full legacy behind him, Jazzy B is not only still turning out bangers, but he's also passionate about fostering the next generation of Punjabi Canadian talent.
Being with bro and his energy, he motivates us every day to do better, and positivity I learned from him.
You can still find him on stage with heavy hitters including Sukha and AP Dillon. He also has gotten his flowers from people like Karan Aujla, who cited Jazzy B as a huge influence. Last year, Jazzy B performed the hit song Coolin' at the Juno Awards with Janni Natta and Inderpal Moga right at home in Vancouver. Jazzy B is not only the forefather of the Punjabi wave, but actively keeping it alive.
Make sure you guys dream. They do come true. I'm right here in front of you guys. 33 years in the industry now. 4-year-old Jaswinder became Jazzy B.
The Punjabi wave might be the moment we're living in right now, but the movement was set in motion by Jazzy B.
I had no idea.
There we go. Very cool.
Thanks for being with us tonight on CBC Vancouver News at 6. You can watch this newscast on CBC Gem, our free app, as well as on YouTube and our website, cbc.ca/BC.
And we will have your next local news at 11 o'clock, right after the National. See you then.